Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This video is going to be my top 3 favorite products in every category, Cheek Edition. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I like to come on here to chat about eyeshadow palettes, accessories reviews, and getting the use out of my makeup. And because I really like getting the use out of my makeup, I've got some solid favorites. And every month I've been coming on here to share those favorites with you in a video where I show you the top 3 favorites in every category. Today we're talking blush, bronzer, highlight, both powder and cream and liquid, as well as drugstore and high-end. I'm gonna split it all out. I've got a bunch of different categories for you today, and I'm going to be including close-ups and swatches and a bit of B-roll. So I hope you really enjoy that and want to stay tuned. But you do need to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone. Hello, fellow snow angels, and that really greatly skews my makeup preferences. So these recommendations may not be for everyone, but just know that I've been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade. So I kind of know what I like, so my firm favorites are also very solid, long-standing favorites most of the time. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. A category I hardly ever talk about on this channel are face palettes. I'm just not a face palette person. I have a few, but I've decluttered most of them over time. Because I just don't really use them unless I'm traveling. But these 3 are firm favorites. So 2 of these, if you've seen any declutter or like collection video of mine, I mean, these are old, but I still love them and I still love traveling with them. Let me tell you first about the OG. Yes, I still have a sleek palette. And I still love this. This is their Face Form palette in Fair. Oh, I remember buying this when I was in the UK like a decade ago or so. A bronzer, a blush, and a highlighter. It's got that warm tone, corally pinky shade with a golden undertone. The highlighter works for me. The blush works for me. The mirror in here is okay enough that I can actually see what I'm doing. It's not perfect. I like the one in the e.l.f. one better, which is why I tend to travel with that even more. Yeah, this is so small and compact, and yet you get an entire face look in a palette. Very often if I'm going away on a city trip for a couple of days, this is what I bring because it's that easy. But I feel very similarly about the e.l.f. Now, this is not a ready-made palette. I put this together myself. This was 3 of these e.l.f. palettes, and I fused them together to make one perfect face palette. So this came in a blush version, a bronzer version, and a highlight version. And I've just kept my favorite shade. So I kept one of the highlighters, one of the blushes, and the bronzer and contour shade from the bronzer palette that worked best for me. I don't even know if e.l.f. still does this, but yeah, these pop out. You can like click them out by pushing them on the back. So I was able to put it together myself. And as you can see, shade-wise, it's very similar to the sleek one. The highlighter is a bit more cool toned. The one in the sleek one is a bit more warm toned. This blush is pretty much identical to the sleek one. And then we have a contour shade and a bronzer shade. And a very decent size mirror in here. Like you can see your entire face in this, which is why I like traveling with this very often as well. This is really pretty, really like it. It's a little bit chunkier than the sleek one. This also cannot really sit upright in a makeup bag, whereas the sleek one can. If you're traveling, then you know, if you want to save space. But my more recent love has been the Dior. So this is their Backstage Glow Face Palette. This is in the shade Universal. And I had to travel quite a bit for work and stay the night somewhere else. So this is what I was bringing at that moment. This, it does have a downside. Everything in here is quite shimmery, which is why I still like the other 2 options, because the bronzer in that is matte. These 2 shades I wear as bronzer. So what I do when I use this palette is that I dip my brush into both of these to create a good enough bronzing shade for myself, but both of them have shine to them. So if you don't like a shimmery, like shiny bronzer, this may not be for you. The highlighter works for me, the blush works for me. This is really pretty, again, really nice, small, compact, and it is just that little bit smaller than the e.l.f. one, which is why it fits in a makeup bag. So the e.l.f. one is just a little bit too tall to sit in most makeup bags I personally have. So with some favorite cream bronzers, because I'm gonna include creams here as well. So the Milk Baked Stick. This I like, but mine smells so badly by now, so I think it has expired, which is a shame. Actually, when I bought this, I wanted to buy the mini version of it, but it hadn't been released here in Europe yet, so I got stuck with the large one, but this smells horribly. Can I still use this? Maybe, but better be safe than, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So yeah, this I love the product. If I can find this in a mini size, I may actually repurchase this, because I also find this packaging is just unnecessarily bulky. And maybe if I'd had kept the like protective plastic that this comes with, if I'd have kept that, it might have worked better for me. But do you see that it has a huge chunk out of it? That's because the protective plastic, to ensure the longevity of the product, got stuck to the product, which is another downside. So yeah, I do really love the product. I really like the shade. It is a bit dark from, like, if you look at this, it's like, how is that going to work for your fair skin? I wear this mainly in the spring summer season, and then it works. Then another one that I've only tried like a couple of times, but in terms of like formula, I really liked it. This is the M Cosmetics So Soft Bronzer in the shade Terra. Shade-wise, it's a lot more cool toned, so I like that. It's also really, really soft. There's a reason why this thing is called the So Soft Bronzer. It's really pretty. I can use this like from the stick, like dab it around, and it works quite well. But my favorite way, because this does have the tendency to sort of move your foundation, which I feel the Milk one doesn't, because the formula of the Milk one is a bit thinner. This one I feel is so rich that it kind of messes with your makeup, so I prefer to like put it on the back of my hand and use a brush, like swirl it into the brush and then put it on, because I feel it works better. And I use the same technique with the Rare Beauty one. This is my top favorite in the shade Power Boost. This, oh, it's so messy. This I love. Again, more of a cooler undertone. I love the undertone of this, but this really doesn't work like straight from the stick for me. I don't know how people do that. I need to warm this up on the back of my hand. With the M Cosmetics, it's because the formula is so rich. With this, because for me, the formula feels quite tuggy and a bit stiff. So I feel with this, I really need to warm up the product on the back of my hand to get the juices flowing, you could say, then pick it up with a brush, and then it applies beautifully. And this is my favorite cream bronzer. So this is why I don't need a replacement for the Milk makeup if I don't want to. This, I adore. Like, if I could keep just one cream bronzer, this would be the one. Let's talk drugstore bronzers. Now, I have to say, because I have fair skin, bronzer can be very difficult to find. That works for me. But I've got a couple of good ones here, and I actually decided not to include one because I know you can no longer buy it. I was like, if we're going for something a bit more affordable, then I do want to make sure that I show you a couple of things you might still be able to get. So anyone who's watched me for any length of time will know Kiko, the Flawless Fusion Bronzer in shade 1. I now know the shade name of this. This is called Natural Tan. It's a cool tone bronzer. It's light. It's super light, but it's so yummy. It's a great formula. So good. They have come out with a new range that I think I might want to try next. But this undertone, like if you're fair and you struggle finding bronzers that work for you, try this. This was a game changer to me. So the Kiko one, I love. And because of my wish to include something that I hope you can still get, this by Essence, the Hello Good Stuff Matte and Glow Bronzer with Cocoa. So this is really pretty, but I have been told that this lighter shade, which is why it works for me, is like only an overlay. So most of the shade is going to be this once you wear through that layer. This is very rich and creamy and buttery smooth, which is another thing I liked. This is also in the shade Cocoa Cool, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Cocoa Cool. So another cool tone bronzer from the drugstore. They can do it. You can find it at an affordable price point, but you do have to dig around to find it. And yeah, I do really like this. I didn't put it in my top 10 favorite bronzers because there I didn't really go for whether something was drugstore or not. But today I wanted to make sure I split it up in like drugstore and high-end, and I felt that this needed a mention in the drugstore category. But you know, if you did see that top 10 bronzer ranking, Catrice, I've got both shades. Holiday Skin Luminous Bronzer. This is in Summer in the City, and this one is then called Off to the Island. I've got both shades, a summer shade, a winter shade. This is again super duper light. So again, if you're struggling with bronzers because you're fair, this may be good. If you have deep skin, I'm terribly sorry, but I don't really have bronzer recommendations for very deep skin tones, especially not at the drugstore. But I know the Kiko one does come in like 5 shades, I believe. For the higher end options, I've got 3 here, and now I'm sitting down here to film it and I'm like, oh, but my Fenty one. I love that too. I just ranked all of my bronzers, so I'm sorry. But yeah, the Fenty one is really good too. Honorable mention. I'm just gonna have to do it like that. Currently my Shop My Stash and what's on my face today, the Becca. Because of that top 10 ranking, I realized how much I love this and I knew I had to go back to it. So this is currently what's in my Shop My Stash. This is in Body Sands, no longer available, of course. So yeah, the Fenty would have been a bit more fair. I have that one in the Sun, so that's a good one too. Last month, Shop My Stash had Ombre in by Nabla. You can see the emblem has disappeared because I love this so much that I just use it exclusively for an entire month, which is what I'm gonna do with the Becca. Yeah, this is good. This is really good. I still love it. Again, a bit more glowy. I love it. And the final bronzer I want to mention is by Dior. This is their Natural Bronze in Tan Bronze. Stunning packaging, and this shade looks too dark in the pan, but it shears out beautifully. It's very subtle once you apply it with your with a brush. And this is just really, really good. Doing highlighters next, and these are my liquid and cream highlighters that I want to recommend to you. The Glossier Future Dew? No, Halo Scope in Quartz. This thing I love. I did a full face of Glossier last month, and I just love the way these products look. I don't think I'll ever put them all together again like I did in that makeup look, but this just works for me every time. And if this expires, no, this still smells okay, then I know I'm going to repurchase this for sure. Like, this is such a good one. I love the shade of it. Another thing I love is this peachy toned one from Rare Beauty. This is in the shade Mesmerize. This, so stunning on fair skin. I know we always get the pink tones, but this on me just works so much better than a pink tone because I am more neutral than I am cool, which means that peachy toned highlighters, as you'll see in a minute, are some of my personal favorites. And finally, I only just got this, but I know you probably can no longer get it, but this is a dupe for Charlotte. Yeah, it's a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury's Beauty Light Wands. I'm not sure what shade because I only have the pink one, and that on me is a blush. But this is the Cruella liquid highlighter, and this was my favorite one of the two. There was also one from the Maleficent line, which had a golden undertone. This has a peachy undertone, and I just loved the way this looked on me. And I know I'm so happy I got my hands on these liquid highlighters from Catrice because they are good, and they are so good that I immediately want to put them in this video. I've got a section of drugstore highlighters I want to recommend and more high-end things. Again, not all of it is available anymore. Currently in my Shop My Stash, did I put this on today? No, I'm wearing Wayne Goss on my cheeks today, but I did wear this already yesterday. This is the Annabelle Perfect Glow Highlighter in the shade Topaz. This is currently in my Shop My Stash. I've kept this drugstore highlighter. Annabelle is Canadian drugstore, in case you don't know. This was sent to me by a subscriber who I did a swap with years ago. I've kept this over the high-end versions I had of this shade. It's a white with a golden flash. I had, what's it called? Albatross from NARS. Kept this over it because it's that good. It's that good. I don't know if they still do this. I cannot buy Annabelle where I live. If you're a Canadian, let me know. Does Annabelle still do these? In terms of very affordable highlighters, I think the Catrice More Than Glow highlighters are really good as well. These I've likened to the ColourPop, like Super Shock highlighters. This has that gel to powder formula that I like in a lot of highlighters, but it's under €5 at the drugstore. Like how Catrice does it, I don't know. And this shade, which is Ultimate Platinum Gaze, is a straight up dupe for ColourPop's Flexitarian. So if you're in the EU and you can't buy ColourPop very easily, try this, because this shade is exactly the same. The formula is very similar because it has a little bit more of a bouncier texture, but where the ColourPop struggles picking up with a brush, this picks up with a brush so easily, and it's super duper intense. One of the best highlighters I've ever tried, period. Not just at the drugstore. And another one of these Kiko guys. I love these Kiko like silvery packaging things, as you will see. I just love it. This is their Glow Fusion highlighter in shade 01. Can you see how much this of a dent it has? I'm trying to hit pan on this. Like every time I use it, I'm like, ooh, can I hit pan on you? I still haven't, and I've had this for so long. It does come with 5 grams of product, so you don't need a lot of this. This is more soft focus. So if the Catrice one is too intense for you, because that's kaboom, kapow, in your face highlight, this is that soft candlelit glow sort of thing. It's got a, like, it looks like a champagne, like very pale shade here, but it's got the peachy pink flip to it once you apply it. So that may be good to know. But yeah, this is one of my favorite all-time highlighters as well. There's a reason why there's such a big dent in it, because I love it. And Kiko is pretty widely available. They do regular sales, so you can always get money off on these as well. And then for the high-end things, discontinued, but this was in my Shop My Stash last month, and I was like, oh, you're so good. Vanilla Quartz from Becca. Now, let's be real here. Shade-wise, the Kiko is pretty much the same. This is a bit more intense of a highlight though, and I also think that the Melt Digital Dust highlighter in Morningstar does a similar thing. I had that in my Shop My Stash, I think the month before that, or over the summertime. So yeah, but I just fell in love, and I still have all of my Becca highlighters because I still like them. I have Pearl, I have Rose Quartz, I have Vanilla Quartz, and I have Prismatic Amethyst, and I think I'm just gonna use these until these expire, or I hit pan and use them up, because these are just so good. It's such a shame that Becca is no longer around, but yeah, this is holy grail status for sure. So I just told you that I felt a bit ashamed that I didn't put my Fenty bronzer in today's video, but Fenty and cheek products I tend to get down with quite well. So their highlighter in Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal, I mean, I've hit pan on this thing, like this shade then, because I don't like the Lightning Dust side. The Fire Crystal side I love. I keep saying how I want Fenty to come out with just Fire Crystal as a single pan. I would snatch it up. This is their lightest shade. It has a bit of that peachy pink undertone, but it's not too like bright pink. Very often highlighters aimed at fair skin are just a little too stark, I feel, because they have too much of a white base. This has that champagne-y peach base to it, which is why it works for me very well. I think if you are lighter than me, this may leave a bit of a dark cast. That is my issue with the other shade, but this, the more intense one, there's a reason why I've hit pan on it. I go back to this all the time. I had to. Again, do I think? Yes. All 3 of my Nabla skin glazing products are in today's video because I love the skin glazing formula. This is in the shade Privilege. It is a peachy shade. Can I show you this? Because when it catches the light, you can just see the reflection right there. This is the shade a little bit more like you see it in the pan. It's peach. Ozone, I believe, is the lighter one, but that I felt was too pink toned. And at the time, I was really looking for a good peach toned highlighter. And this has been my pick, and every time I go back to it, I love it. Again, there's a really nice size dent in here. Yeah, the Nabla skin glazing highlighters, any of their skin glazing products. If you haven't tried them yet, try them. They're really good. Moving on to blush, and here I have Cream, And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different color categories. So not just drugstore and high-end, no. We're gonna go over my favorite mauve, plummy, peachy, corally pink, bright, and neutral blush shades. So I hope you want to strap in for the ride. We've got blushes here that are creams. So I told you I love my Fenty cheek products. This one, the Cheeks Out Cream Blush in Strawberry Drip. This is really, really good. And I'm just realizing that when it comes to cream and liquid products, I tend to use like sticks if it's a bronzer, liquids if it's a highlighter, and also liquids if it's a blush. So this is quite rare to have like a cream blush in a compact like this and like it so much. Yes, Strawberry Drip by Fenty, stunning. Another rare beauty product. I've got another shade, but this is my favorite one of the two I have. This is in Hope. This is one that I got, I think, over the summertime, last spring, something like that. This is so pretty. These liquid blushes by Rare Beauty are a little bit more difficult to work with, though. You need to be pretty quick and blend it in with a sponge in order to make it look the most natural. But this shade Hope, I took it with me when I went to London over the summertime. It was in my travel makeup bag, and I loved it. Loved it. So that's why I wanted to give this a shout out again. And then I did bring up 2 shades from the Juicy Peng blushes from Apio. So this is K-Beauty. This, I mean, yeah. This is the shade Guava, the nudie one. This is Strawberry. And these are so pretty. If you're looking for a dupe for the M Cosmetics Serum blushes, which they finally changed the packaging of, which is good, because the packaging of those is a bit of a faff to use. But these have like a nail polish brush applicator, which makes them even easier to use than those now that they've been repackaged. These are cheaper. They are easier to get a hold of through YesStyle, because YesStyle ships internationally at a much cheaper rate than M Cosmetics, let me tell you that. And these are stunning. Not just a good blush, but some of the best blush I've ever tried. And these are quite cheap and cheerful. A lot of the shades are often sold out, but I now have 4 of these, and I have every shade I could possibly want. Let's talk powder blush. Purpley, plummy shades. They're more plum than purple, I should say. I realized that actually quite a few of my favorite blushes are plummy shades. Currently in my Shop My Stash, Rapture by Urban Decay. This I had in my Shop My Stash last month, and I fell in love with it so much that I put it in again. Again, Urban Decay discontinued their entire blush line and never brought it back. So not sure what was up with that. This looks like it's not gonna work for me. It looks quite brown in the pan, but when I put it on, I swear something happens. It's like if a mauve blush is too light for you, you don't really like a nude, you want it to be more fall appropriate, Rapture by Urban Decay, best fall blush ever. But I've got alternatives. Ciate, this is Matchmaker from their glowy blush line. And I spotted this again the other day. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to put this in my Shop My Stash for December for sure. This is so good. It's glowy. It definitely has a bit more shine. The Urban Decay is more matte. But I feel it does a similar thing. It again has that warmish undertone, but it does have a plummy base that really comes through on my skin tone, which is probably why I like it. But if you want another alternative, then Mood Exposure from Hourglass is going to give you a more nudie plum sort of look as well. So I love my Mood Exposure. I think it's a really pretty one. I haven't used this one in a while. I definitely need to put this in a Shop My Stash over the winter time. Nude blush next. So favorite nude blush of all time. This got the love train for nude and mauve tone blushes started. Tawny Peach by H&M. Yes, Fenty Beauty was not the first brand to do hexagon shaped packaging. A lot of people think H&M stole it from Fenty, but the H&M line has been around for a bit longer than Fenty has. And this is one of their OG blush shades which was discontinued. But if you want a really nice mauve shade from this line that is still available, try Cameo Pink. I no longer have mine because it was too similar to other things I already owned and I've had for a longer time. So the Cameo Pink from this line from H&M is one of the best mauve tone blushes you can still buy today. These are really good, and I wish more people talked about these. But one of my OG favorite nude blushes, Seduce from Tarte. I don't think I'll ever declutter this. And they came out with this, and it was exactly what I wanted. So this has been one of my favorite go-to blushes of all time. I've still not worn down the pattern completely, but you can definitely see this in a close-up that we're getting close. We're getting close, people. So Seduce from Tarte. I don't think I'll ever declutter this. And a more recent pick is Magic Hour from M Cosmetics. This is their Heaven's Glow powder. I also have a shade that's a bit more brown toned, which is Rodin, which is, I think, an even better nudie pick. This is perhaps a bit more peachy, but I feel the way this sits on the skin, it doesn't show up peach on me. It just shows up as this really pretty, natural, glowy cheek. You're wearing something, but it's barely there kind of vibe, which is why I thought I could put this one into my nude category more so than the peach one, because the peach selection I have for you are like true peachy tones. This one isn't. It's much more neutral. It's much more dialed down, and that's why I love it, and that's why I have two of these right now. But the packaging of this thing is chunky, very chunky. And then my favorite mauve tone blush, because where would we be? OG favorite. I don't think, again, in terms of would I ever declutter this, the answer is no. Kiko Shade Fusion Blush in Marsala 05. They have discontinued these tricolor blushes in favor of just like mono blushes, so it's one shade. But this like deeper shade, you can still get that as a blush from Kiko. I think it's like shade 7 or 6 in the current lineup, but this is so good. So good. And it, you know, it's in the same packaging as the bronzer and the highlighter. I told you I love these. This. And it's from the drugstore too. Like, it's so good. Another more affordable mauve tone blush is from a K-beauty brand. This is Etude House's Lovely Cookie Blusher in the shade Ginger Honey Cookie. It's a mouthful. The formula of this thing is so good. And this, again, comes in a ton of shades. I also have the lavender shade, which is really good. This, it's a bit more warm toned than the Kiko one. The Kiko has a bit more plummy mauve, and this is more like nudie warm tone mauve. But this, I could never get rid of it. And it's got the little puff. It's so cute. It does feel like cheap packaging though. That's something you need to be aware of. But this, from Yes Style, I think was like €6. It's cheap and cheerful. It has a blush formula that I think is as good as high-end picks. Yeah, I love this thing. And ever since I bought this, the mother of all mauve tone blushes for me has been Pat McGrath's Divine Rose. I have found, now that I've mulled things over, that her Divine Rose eye palettes are not my jam. They're not for me. I don't love them. But the Divine Rose blush, sign me up. This is my perfect blush shade. Do you see how it's not too cool toned, not too warm toned, not too pink, not too purple, yet it has all of those things? Stunning. I am currently like, if I think mauve tone blush, this is the thing I swatch it against. Now in terms of pink tone blush, I really don't have a lot as like a dusty rose pink or like a brighter pink. Like I have one or maybe two, and then that's that. Like I tend to prefer a pink that is warm toned, that is almost coral leaning, and that has a bit of shine to it. And I've got 3 picks for you here today. Something a bit more bougie, the Duo Glow from Natasha Denona in the shade Rayo. Does she still do this? I don't know. I feel this is Benefit's Coralista, but more pink. I'm not sure I'm making sense. Coralista by Benefit, of course, discontinued because they're now doing all these nude blush shades, but mine has pan. That's how much I love it. So that kind of shade has been in my blush arsenal for a long time. And I just love this thing. I really, really do. So that's a good one. But I also really like the Bare Minerals Bronzer. Now, if this has been, because is this still around? It was discontinued, then they brought it back. Not sure about the status of this one. But this particular blush, you can buy from Catrice. There's a dupe in, is it called Warm Soul? I think it's called Warm Soul in their multicolor blush boxes. The shade Warm Soul is this exact shade, which is why I decluttered my Catrice one, because I don't have anything else by Bare Minerals, and I really like this. But yeah, this you can still buy. It's a really nice warm pink that looks really stunning on the cheeks. But a blush from Catrice that is I think the Catrice one I just mentioned, the multicolor blush box and Warm Soul, may have been discontinued in some territories. Some other people might still be able to get it, but if you are looking for something from Catrice that I think is still around, then the Cheek Lover Oil Infused Blush in Blooming Hibiscus. This, wow. Again, I said it of the highlighter that Catrice did in this video that I showed you here. This is another product from Catrice where if it didn't have the packaging, if it didn't have the Catrice label on it, you'd think this is a much more high-end product. This is not just good for the drugstore. It's a really good blush. The shade, do you see that? It's got pink, it's got coral, it's got a bit of gold, and because of that, it has a bit more of a subtle, like, cooler undertone flash. This will be stunning on so many skin tones. Like, if you have a deep skin tone, that maybe that coraliness will pick up more. Like, this blush, like, I don't believe in color adapting products at all. The minute a product, especially blushes, if those claim to be color adapting to your skin tone, it never works. But this, I feel this shade has a little bit of everything that it can work on an array of people. It is also the only shade that comes in this formula, but yeah, it's really good. Another favorite blush shade of mine is Peachy Tones. Now, I always thought I didn't like Peachy Tones until I found a couple of good staples. Another one that's been discontinued is Benefit's Gold Rush. Like this. I only have a mini. Now I kind of regret having the mini, but I mean, it took me such a long time to hit pan on Coralisa that I don't know. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to use this up anytime soon. It's a glowy, peachy blush. You'll find, as with the other picks, if I'm going peach, I need it to be glowy. If it's a matte peachy tone blush, it doesn't do enough for my complexion. But if it has a bit of glow, or a lot of glow, the Melt Digital Dust Blush in Buzzkill, I mean, I got this second because I have, what's it called? Queen Honey, Queen Bee? I think that's what it's called. The mauve one. That's a bit deep for me, personally. So I love the formula of it, which is why I picked up this. And now I just love this one more than I do the one I originally bought. So yeah, this is stunning. It's a blush and a highlighter in one. It's very glowy. If you don't love glowy things, you're not gonna love it. I know not everybody likes this brown compact packaging. I don't mind it. The actual product is really pretty, and it's a bit more intense shade-wise compared to the Benefit. I feel the Benefit is softer. It still has the glow, but it's softer, and this has a bit more color to it. But this guy. I actually have another blush from Essence that actually does the same thing, I feel, which is their blush lighter in, ooh, what's it called again? Dolce Vita? I'm not sure. But this Dumbo highlighter, well, it's a blush and highlighter, so it does make sense. But the Dumbo blush from the Disney Classics collection that came out earlier in the year, I remember putting this on and just liking it so much. This is like what I've said about Catrice. This is not just a good blush from the drugstore. It's a good blush, period. This matches some of my more high-end things. And I know I will love this until I find a drugstore blush that does this, that it's going to replace this one, like my blush lighter is now replaced by this. But yeah, this I just love. It's got the really cute packaging. It's got a stunning shade. Love it. And then the last category that I have for you are my more vibrant blushes. And here I was like, oh yeah, I need to include that because there used to be a couple of like brighter blushes that I still have in my collection that I now feel like I think I can declutter those. And the main reason for that is me finding this, the MAC Glow Play Blush in Heat Indexed. And this rekindled my love for MAC blushes. I had never found a MAC blush I wanted to keep around. I tried their mineral formula. I tried their extra dimension formula. Like, I've tried so many blushes from MAC, but it was this that got my juices flowing. But this shade also, like in terms of like a really nice vibrant corally shade, this works so well for me. I love the formula. It's a cream to powder. I apply this with fingers though. I liked it so much that I also got it in this like plummy magenta shade. And then I started trying their extra dimension shades again. And I was like, I had just not tried these formulas in the right shades for me. So now I have a couple of MAC blushes that I love, but this was the instigator, which is why this had to go into today's video. And then this, I heat indexed Hourglass. I need to go back to this again. This is such a good blush for like if you want red blush, but if you have fair skin and reddish tone blush can look like too much on you, this is stunning. This is such a good one because it is infused with that face powder thing. So yeah, I love my Hourglass blushes, but I'm now realizing that because I have been trying so many cream things, I haven't been using these as much. So I definitely need to start putting my Hourglass blushes into Shop My Stashes in the next couple of months because I've got 2 or 3 of them and I really like them. Nabla, finally. Skin glazing blush in Lola. I told you there was going to be another Nabla skin glazing blush in here. I just love these. I just do. And if they do it so well, I don't have any of the other shades. I think, don't they have a peachy shade called Truth? I see that sometimes in people's like declutters or like blush collection videos, and that kind of still like, it's kind of calling my name. But Lola is that watermelon pink that I used to have a Too Faced blush that did that for me. I still have it, but I'm not realizing now that I put this video together that I can probably declutter the Too Faced one and keep this, because if I want to go for that watermelon pink sort of vibe, I use this and I no longer use the Too Faced. So Nabla skin glazing, I've already sung its praises enough in this video, but I cannot help but reiterate that once again. So that's it. Those were all of the recommendations I wanted to share with you in today's video. My top 3 favorite in every category. Cheek edition. I really hope you got something out of it. A lot of people were telling me in the lipstick video how they found it very helpful. So I hope you found this video helpful as well. Thumbs it up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, so if you'd like to stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.